everybody. Welcome,
This
welcome.
meeting is being recorded.
Give it a minute here. Let everyone hop on in. Welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing today?
Good. How are you
Doing
doing?
good.
Love to hear it. All right. I would love to hear where y'all are coming in from. If y'all want to drop it in the chat, would love to see where you guys are at. SC, is that South Carolina? Georgia? Love it. Love it. Houston, love it. Cali, Miami, Seattle. We got a broad crew here. Atlanta, a couple Georgia peeps here. Love it. PA, New York, sweet. DC, love it. Super cool. Couple DCs, couple more Texas peeps. All right. We will get rocking here in just a minute. Couple housekeeping things. Would love for y'all to turn your cameras on. I'm going to give you as much value as I possibly can over the next hour. I just ask that you turn your cameras on so I feel like I'm talking to humans, not just a black wall of nothing. That would be awesome. And if you want to go over your LinkedIn, the prerequisite is that you have your camera on. So that should do it as well. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm going to mute all of you guys.
Hey.
Distracting. Cool. All right. I want to see way more cameras on. There's like, I have a tiny handful of them on, and we're not going to start until most people have the cameras on. And I promise, I know it's uncomfortable sometimes, but you're here. I want to say, way to go for spending an hour after work in the middle of the week learning. And I guarantee that if you're fully present and not distracted and multitasking, you'll get way more out of this. So I know you probably want to be doing other things. That's probably why you have your camera off, but turn your cameras on and you'll get way more value. And we'll go over your LinkedIn. Cool. Appreciate that. All right. Letting some more people in. All right. How do I see everybody? Cool. Good little handful. All right. But still not even half of you guys have your cameras on. So I'm literally not going to start until we get that going because, yeah, if you guys want me to give you value, I need to get that reciprocity from you guys. So turn on your cameras and then we'll get started. Let me share my screen. We'll get rocking. You guys can see. You can see this? If anyone wants to drop in the chat, I muted all you guys, but if someone wants to just confirm you guys can see the screen. Cool. Thank you, T. Cool. All right, we are going to get started. Let me just admit all the rest of these people. All right. Do this thing. Hide that. A little housekeeping here. Move that out of the way. All right, let's get this thing rocking. Cool. So, LinkedIn workshop. Let's do this thing. Appreciate you guys for being here. I genuinely want to just thank you for giving me an hour of your time. I don't take that lightly. It's a weekday. You only have so few hours to enjoy when you're not working. So the fact you're here ready to learn, I do not take that lightly. And I'm going to give you as much value as possible in the next hour. In this workshop, everything I'm going to teach you is a system I use personally to book over 200 interviews last year for corporate roles, growing my own corporate income from 80K to 390K in 11 months. That sounds crazy. I'll explain how that happened in a moment, but yeah, let's just jump in. Cool. So you're here for an hour. What are you going to get out of this hour that you're spending here with me? So want to make sure you guys fully understand the 2024 job market and any of the pitfalls that are preventing you from getting interviews. If you're here, you're probably struggling to get interviews or you want to improve your job search process. So we're going to make sure to cover that. We're going to make sure you understand how to create a LinkedIn that guarantees you start landing in the top few pages of applicants when you're applying to jobs and the recruiter starts to see you and actually knows you exist. And the big one, if you implement everything I shared today and you're really attentive and you have your cameras on and you're present, you will be able to 2 to 5x your current response rate from recruiters by implementing the things that we share. Yeah, so let's make sure that that happens. Cool. So agenda, I'm going to go over my background a little bit so you understand who's this dude talking to me about LinkedIn. Why should I even listen to him? We're going to go over the 2024 job market, what's new, what's different, why do the things that worked a few years ago not work anymore. We're going to spend almost all the time doing live audits. We're going to talk more about the broader content ecosystem. So this workshop is about LinkedIn, but things like your resume, portfolio, all that other stuff matters. So we're going to cover that as well, just high level. And I'm going to have a great offer for you guys at the end. So most webinars like this, people pretend to give you value and just sell you stuff the entire time. I truly promise I'm going to try to give you as much real value over the next hour. And then I will give you an opportunity to book a call with our team if what we're talking about here resonates and you want to explore deeper. So stick around for that. Cool. So a little bit about myself. My name is Delaney. In 2022, I was working one corporate job as a product manager for a big, boring healthcare company. I didn't have any crazy impressive resume at all, and I was earning about $80K per year. I have always done a lot of side hustle entrepreneur things, so I was cool with that. I was kind of just letting that corporate career play out so I could do these other things I was passionate about. But last year, the aha moment or the curiosity moment was, let me take what I've learned about entrepreneurship and dump it into my corporate career and see if I can really blow up how much I'm earning and like really create great lifestyle balance while earning multiple six figures. So I built this system through trial and error, but I was averaging over 20 interviews a month. And I'll show you some screenshots and data so you know that's legit, but like crazy interview volume really by building a system that automated the job search process and outsourcing the process of applying, so building a team that would apply to jobs for me at low cost. So anyways, that's not LinkedIn specifically, but that led to me landing 2 offers at 150K plus, which was double the salary I was earning. Again, this is a bit more deep in the weeds, but I was working 3 corporate jobs at the same time, earning about 400K, still working less than 24 hours a week. And then I was able to build this business that we're now having a webinar through, where we help people get remote jobs. We've helped 40 people this year get remote jobs and scale their income to over 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, et cetera. So that all probably sounds pretty wild, so I just want to show you guys some screenshots. It's all legit, and I'm not just making up some crazy story. Oops. So again, just a ton of social proof from the time I was looking for product manager jobs. This is just like tons and tons of screenshots from people reaching out on LinkedIn and wanting to interview me, emailing me to book interviews during that time. And I think this is my favorite snapshot of the whole thing. So during the holiday season, if you all work in corporate, so you probably understand that the holidays is the slowest hiring time of the entire year. And at this time, every headline in the newspaper said the market was tanking and it was horrible and it was trash. I averaged 35 interviews in that 3-week period. And there was a single day where I had 8 interviews on the 15th. So it was literally crazy amount of interviews. And it led to 2 offers, like I mentioned, 150, 160K. Which was double how much I was earning previously. So we'll go into more storytelling stuff on how I was able to do that later through looking at your guys' LinkedIn's. And then, cool, Delaney, you did that. How do I know that that's replicatable? These are just a ton of really raw screenshots of people in our community who have had just as epic wins. 7 interviews in the first week using our process, 12 recruiters reaching out in the first week, offer at 140K, on and on and on. So hopefully that's enough to give me some credibility that everything I'm going to share with you today is legit and not just theory. Let this person in the waiting room or into the meeting. Cool. Okay, cool. So that's me. Job market as of this year. So this data is slightly, it's from a month and a half ago, but the data is still trending in the same direction. Sure, if you look at this chart, it seems like unemployment is going up, but if you zoom out, unemployment is at, like, if you look over the last 30, 40 years, unemployment rate being under 4.5% is fantastic. Like, we're not, in the grand scheme of things, unemployment is at an extremely healthy rate right now. But people are still saying it's impossible to get a job. And when we look at a little bit of the deeper data from July, healthcare grew, information didn't really change at all. And then all these other fields as well, wholesale, retail, financial activities, professional business services, leisure, hospitality, other services, didn't really change at all. So all these headlines are saying the sky's falling, it's impossible to get a job. But if we look at the data, honestly, like, sure, maybe there are tiny dips here and there, but in the grand scheme of things, the economy from a job availability perspective is actually pretty healthy. So why is it so hard to get a job? One, the rising use of AI. So AI is extremely baked into this whole thing, from ChatGPT, writing resumes, to the fact that it's so easy to one-click apply that there's 500 applicants for every job. It's insanely hyper-competitive. And two is the rise of job stacking, or what people call overemployment, which I just spoke to, which is, hey, we're remote now, AI exists. I can get a 40-hour-a-week job done in 10 hours a week and still do a great job at it, so why not have multiple? That idea, like 5 years ago, everyone was just fighting for one job. So the really talented people, sure, they got all the jobs at, the FANG companies, or, all the desirable companies, but there were still a lot of jobs left over for everyone else. Now, this is a growing trend of people working multiple jobs, and there are absolutely people out there working 3, 4 jobs and taking everyone else's lunch because they've really dialed the job search process. This is still a growing trend, but like the impacts of and the implications of that, it's pretty massive. So it's really becoming a winner-take-all mentality, and it's unfortunate, but it's the reality. So all we can do is either be a victimhood, be in victimhood, go get a job at McDonald's, or we can learn how to actually compete in the current job market, which we're going to talk about today. And again, just like a headline from Wall Street Journal really calling this out. You're fighting AI with AI. Bots are breaking the hiring process. It's really unfortunate, but we're going to show you how to hack that system and make it work for your benefit, so you can get a job, make money, and live a great life. Cool. So how many, write in the comments if you're familiar with the ATS. Yes or no? ATS. Yes, 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 yes. Cool. No, a couple no's, bunch of yeses. Cool. Glad that you know about it. We're just going to talk about it at a really high level. The ATS, very simply put, well, here on this slide, 98% of hiring platforms use it. That means LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and then any of the actual company websites are using this software. And what the software basically does is it basically just keyword matches resumes to job postings, and your LinkedIn as well. So all the important words in the job posting are going to be compared to all the words in your resume, and an algorithm will be used to determine or predict if you're a good fit or not. And then that algorithm will decide if you show up on page 1 or page 37 of applicants. And obviously, if you show up on page 37 of applicants, even if you have great experience, no recruiter's even going to know you exist. So when it comes to LinkedIn, all these things we're going to look at today affect how that ATS score, how the ATS built into LinkedIn is going to score how you are rated and shown to recruiters. And that's really what we're going to dig into. Bio, headline, about section, how you write about your jobs, the content you're posting, and making sure all that is done without it just sounding like it's written by ChatGPT, because the systems are more sophisticated, and that they'll know that. And then also humans know what ChatGPT sounds like, so you're not going to get away with it. Okay, cool. So I moved through that pretty quickly, but really just because I want to get into LinkedIn audits. So hopefully you guys have a good sense of the current job market, why it's challenging, and what the ATS is and why it matters. So without further ado, let's jump into some audits. Let's just jump in, get them done. If you want to go over yours, make sure you drop your LinkedIn in the chat, and make sure you have your camera on, because we're not going to pick you unless you have your camera on. Yeah, cool. So let me stop sharing for a second so I can pull these up. All right, cool. All right, Zane. Share my screen again. Okay. Just for fair warning, we're probably going to spend a disproportionate amount of time on Zane's here, because I'm just going to go through all the things that everyone, well, assuming that he's made some errors, I'm just going to call out a lot of stuff here. So also, point being, if we're not going over yours, be attention. I almost guarantee that there will be at least 1, if not 3 to 5 things from each profile we review that is relevant to your LinkedIn. So Zane's product management lead, great. The picture, let's start with the pictures. Great picture. This picture, not bad. I also know it's just a template that I've seen probably like 5 to 10 other people's. So it's not bad. It's also just not unique. So opportunity there to make it a little more unique. Headlines. So this is feedback for everyone. The bio section is very, very heavily weighted, or I guess the headline section. because it's a small field, you don't get many words. So the words you put there are going to heavily weight what the algorithm thinks about you and what you do in your profession. So what I'm also going to do while we're reviewing Zane's is pull up a few past clients who have done really, really well so we can look at theirs and see what they've done. But the first thing that I would ask is, Zane, what I'm assuming you're looking for product management roles, a senior product manager role. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. So SEO, just everyone should think about this like SEO. Google SEO, if you search for a word, you find a blog post, it gets a lot of traffic. So you want the words, literally the word senior product manager, that should be the first thing here. Because experienced product management lead, cool, it's great. Like hopefully the system's intelligent enough to understand you do product management based on that. But if you have word for word the title as the first thing in your description here, that's going to go a long way. So I'd encourage you to make that update. Let me pull up a few others that are examples. So these are just two examples of clients that we placed recently. His is a bit more niche, but Kerrigan, so she's a product director. What I want you all to notice is she takes up 3 lines of this, and I want everyone to do that. Everything we're going to talk about is very much rooted in how do we jam pack as many keywords as possible into all these different sections, this being no different. So for her, product innovation is a buzzword, marketing is a buzzword, brands, buzzword, audience, buzzword, data-driven web design, buzzwords. So that's an example. Oops, what just happened? I just lost my, there we go. Okay, now if we look at Alan, so we placed him as a COO at this company. They're a bit more niche, but same thing, right? Experiential education, sustainability, responsible travel, clean tech. Like if you imagine the job posting for product manager, what are the keywords that are going to be in there likely? Agile and Scrum. I'm a product manager, so I have, I can speak to this one a little bit more, but a lot of those are going to be asking for you to understand the Agile Scrum process. You could say like Agile and Scrum expert. You could say product road mapping. You could have like really, and you could even ask ChatGPT, what are the top 7 buzzwords that I should put in my LinkedIn bio? And it should give you a pretty decent list. All right, so everyone can take those examples and improve their bio or their headline there. About section. Overall, I like the volume. A lot of people have way too short of an about section, so I like how much you have here. I do like that it's broken into chunks. I love that there's a bunch of keywords and buzzwords because that's the name of the game here. So these are a lot of great buzzwords. There's a lot of great buzzwords in here too, which is great. So no reason to get that out. This is solid. What I'll say, one thing that I'm picking up on this is words mean almost nothing in 2024 because you could just say, hey, ChatGPT, write me this thing. So like when I scan this, and I'm going to treat this just like any recruiter is, a recruiter showing up to your page, they have to review, this is for anyone, they have to review, 50 to 100 profiles before they make decisions. They're not going to put a lot of mental energy. They're scanning for something that's going to catch their eye and make them want to read further, just like any other form of marketing. So to me, this says nothing to me. This is just like, cool, these are things people should be able to do. But if you reinforce that with some data or examples of like, what I'd probably swap this out is key accomplishments, key achievements. So like, cool, he says he does these things, that could be BS, I don't know. But if it's, I added, I took my company from 500K per year to 2.7 million recurring revenue through product development initiatives. Interesting data point, like something like that encourages them and hooks them to want to read more and go explore like how they can learn more about that. So for everyone, I definitely encourage more data and specific hooks that relate into your personal experience. Things like this don't really have much depth. And then the beginning paragraph, not bad. It honestly also kind of feels like, and I'm just being very blunt and forward, not trying to be judgmental. Yep. But it just feels kind of buzzword heavy and like, I don't know. It's just, it's not bad. But I tend to like things that feel like you're writing to, not like writing to a friend and you're having misspellings and it's that informal, but I want this to come across of like, I'm connecting with you as a human being, not you as the LinkedIn robot of how I want to feel impressed by the words you used. So like just an example, I think Kerrigan did a really good job with hers, where it's basically about it's almost like storytelling. Um, oops, I keep minimizing my tab. So, she does those things later on, key achievements. She has a bunch of buzzwords in here as well. But reading this, it feels way more human. She's not trying to convince, like, she's not trying to subtly use impressive language. She's using very forward language that makes it more relatable. So I'm not saying you should write it just like her. She like includes some, personal stuff in here about how she started a retreat company, which is pretty cool and unique. Sets her apart from everyone else a little bit. But I would encourage all of you guys to use your about section. Like you have done quite a bit well in there, Zane, but I would encourage you to try to personalize it a little bit, maybe make it feel a bit more like a story, where they get excited to learn more about you. And then Alan's pretty similar. He could have even done way more here. It worked well, but he did get the data in here. And actually, I think it was longer before he actually landed the job, and then he kind of shortened it. But again, storytelling, easy to read, etc. Yeah, I think we just want to be cautious of like how many words are we here that's not really saying anything about us like deeply. And you do have some good stuff in here, but I think it's just like changing the
tone,
the delivery a little bit. And then all this stuff is great. Cool. Let's see. Content, mildly. You got a couple things going on there. That's great. Still employed. That's great. This looks great. The fact that you've written so much in here is great. I love to see more dollar value based things because like this is great, but for all I know, your product has 2 customers and they're each paying $50 a month. So your LTV only went up by $30, the dollar, sure, it does sound cool in theory, but as much as possible, even if they're estimated, like dollar values will show very tangible impact and scale. So encourage everyone to try to do more dollar value quantification for sure. But this is great. What I do love to do also is thinking from a pattern interrupt thing. Like people are scanning this. So even though 3 million is a huge number, when you write it as 3M, I might accidentally buzz right over that and not notice it. So I encourage everyone to go look at where you've done things like that and actually change it to the full written out number, because you have to stop in your tracks when you notice a huge number written out like that, and you want to be like, oh, that's cool. Like, what is that? And just remember that these recruiters, they're not like, they didn't just have a big cup of coffee every time and are laser dialed in reading every line of the resume. They're like scanning it and they're just scrolling like super fast to see, is this interesting to me? And you really want to make sure you hook their attention so they keep reading. But it is great to have quantification in here. A lot of great jobs, a lot of great roles. The depth of description is great. Some people, I would say, for sure under describe their work and their roles, but the fact that you have a good amount of writing here is solid. I think that's great. This is great. Skills. You can usually get skills up to 100 plus, and I highly recommend doing that. And just doing an audit of your skills. That's for everyone. And making sure they're all relevant, because people start adding skills when they're like in college and they're just the not relevant skills. So delete out any that don't feel core to the line of work you're in and add new ones. But yeah, great work, Zane. Good start. Just hopefully some of those changes can take it up a notch.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Let's see here. Michelle.
I feel like you're going to have a lot to say because I intentionally did not include a lot of under description of my roles. And it's in my resume, but for whatever reason, I thought that in LinkedIn, I should take some of that out.
Got it. Cool. Well, then we'll get through it quick and I won't be too harsh on you. And Christy, sorry I skipped over you. We'll do yours next. Okay, Michelle. And then I need to share my screen again. Yeah. The more and more we do, I'll just be like, hey, remember that feedback we already gave? Do that thing. So it should go pretty quick. Great picture, solid background photo. same deal with the bio, with the headline. What I would encourage for everyone is get clear on the specific job title you want to go after and do everything around that. Like when you're doing your resume, when you're doing your LinkedIn, everything should be focused on getting a specific title. If you aren't clear on the specific title you're going after, that will tank your results in your job search more than almost anything. So when I see strategic partnership leader, no one is posting a job with the title strategic partnership leader. So I would swap. You could even keep this stuff in as like a follow along later in the profile thing, but the first thing should be the job title that you're going after, and hopefully are already in as well. And then in addition to that, like whatever those other buzzwords are, like the top 5 to 6 other buzzwords for your title, we would want to try to get those up in there too. Okay, about section, kind of same deal. Really just the same feedback I had for Zane. Yeah, same thing for all this. Yeah, I would just go deeper because the way to think about this is the more like on resumes, you're limited to about a page. And with LinkedIn, you get so much extra space, and the algorithm on LinkedIn is going to be it's going to take everything on your profile and use all that information to predict if you're a good fit or not. So any lack of depth we're putting in here is going to work against us. So it's annoying to do, but I would try to expand and put as much relevant information into every single nook and cranny of your LinkedIn that you can, including your job titles.
Okay, and so it's okay that my resume would be slightly different or shortened, abbreviated version of my LinkedIn profile.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, because your resume really should only be 1 page unless you're in like a C-suite person. So, yeah, that's totally normal.
Thank you.
Yeah, skills. See, killing the game. You've got 99 skills. Great job. Yeah, everyone should get on that level for sure. Courses, great. Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear what you get to improve on, but not a bad start. And you have great real experience. That's what matters too. So we just got to package that up a little bit. All right, let's do chat. Go grab Christie's. This is super slow. Sorry, guys. All right, we got to be close. Here we go. Christie's. Okay, Christy. We're on a roll. Good photo, good background image. Chief of staff. This is solid. I like that this is really easy to read and personalized. Chief of staff, supporting text, bring clarity. That's great. You might want to just follow up with adding like another couple lines of buzzwords, but I think you can leave what you already have in there because it's solid and it makes it clear who you are and what's up. So that's great. I think this is a great example of a casual personal tone that's easy to read, and I feel like I can pick up your personality as I do it. This is not something I am an expert in by any means. I'd be curious to know if generalist is a good thing in that field of work. If it is, great. But I don't know. At least the way I see job search often is that it's so hyper competitive out there that at least in the job search sense, if you are coming across as a generalist, that's almost the worst thing you can ever do. Because 500 people applied, so they're going to pick the person who's most aligned to the experience. But if people resonate, and for whatever reason, if for a chief of staff role, that is a desired characteristic, great. But I would encourage everyone to think about, as you're writing this, how do I position my about section that I'm literally the perfect possible candidate for what these jobs and roles want. So rather than like, this sounds almost bad to say, but rather than like, how do I perceive myself and what are my, personality traits? Rather than that, it's like, what traits, characteristics, and experiences does the average company hiring for this role want? And how do I tell that story through the lens of what I've done? So hopefully that's helpful for everybody. This is, you can always throw your email in here as well too, as a way for them to reach out to you. This is great. I like the depth here. I like that there's a lot of keywords. I would say try to get some more dollar values, whether that's somehow attributed to revenue, cost savings, like even just how long, I don't know, how long people are staying at the company. I'm forgetting what that exact KPI would be called, but the employee churn or whatever. Yeah, I would just encourage everyone to get creative on how to not just rely on percentages, but put some more diversity in the type of numbers we're sharing. Okay, I think some of these you could go deeper and longer. And again, especially if you've shared some accomplishments without any quantification, I would really challenge everyone to make sure that at least half of the bullet points in anything, your LinkedIn or your resume, are quantified. Yeah, so just adding some more depth to how you write about your different job postings. Good job on skills. You could probably dump a few extra in there. But overall, yeah, another really strong start. Definitely on the right track. I think just some opportunities to add some more depth in there.
Thanks.
And I would actually try to get some more, like what Kerrigan did with things I love in here in the about section, of just a ton of skills in there. Doesn't hurt to do that too. And it can look still pretty clean doing that. All right, next one. Shannon Murphy. All right, something new that we haven't come across yet. Everyone should take off the actual open to work sticker off your page. It's just one of those like unconscious things of, it's kind of just like a red flag of, oh, like not even red, I would say yellow flag. But if someone is publicly saying they're open to work, it's easy. It's quite possibly a way to just be like, oh, they're clearly unemployed right now, or there's something going not great with their career that they need to be that public about the fact that they need a job. Even if you are unemployed, you'd rather have them like poke around your profile and maybe not notice it right away. But it's one of those things like, it's just like dating on a mobile app, or like, you could swipe 500 people. So unless the person is literally perfect, you're not going to swipe right. And having an open to work picture is one of the quickest reasons someone's going to go look at the other 487 applicants and not you. But when you change it, you want to take it off your picture, but you still want to leave it accessible on the back end to recruiters, because recruiters will use the open to work filter when they're reaching out to people. So definitely do that. Executive assistant, personal assistant, that's great. If those are the job titles you're going after, definitely leave those there. Again, just ChatGPT, what are the top 7 buzzwords I should have in my LinkedIn bio, or have it give you a list of 30 and then pick the top 5 to 7 that you like, and then drop them in here alongside all this. But otherwise, it's a great start. This is solid. I like this. It's specific. And it's doing exactly what we just talked about, of like, for the role they're hiring for, what do they want to hear and how do I express that? So all of this is, as I'm reading this, I'm like, yeah, these are the things that these employers are definitely going to be looking for based on experience and, different things you've done in those roles. So that's great. I'd make it longer. I'd try to add some quantification. You have a little spelling error there, so fix that. Yeah, some quantification, and then even maybe the key achievements and things I love in there could be great as well. One thing I haven't mentioned, but the LinkedIn algorithm loves to reward people who are active on the platform. So not everyone has theirs as, I think it's called like a creator profile, where you can even make content. But I would encourage all of you guys to just take the time, turn it into a creator type profile, and put up 5 blog posts over the next couple of weeks where you're just sharing some insights on how to be good at the job you want. So if I wanted a product manager job, I could do a post on 6 best practices or what I learned at X role, what I learned building X company about user research or customer feedback, or top 7 best practices for product management from growing an app from 0 to 1 million users or something like that. Something engaging, something that's rooted in my actual experience. It's not even about the content. It's not even that anyone even sees it, but LinkedIn will reward the fact that you're active on LinkedIn and adding value to other people. And that will affect the algorithm in terms of how you're shown to recruiters and when you apply to jobs. And recruiters will come to your page and be like, wow, this person is so nerdy passionate about this thing. They're probably really good at that role. And it sets you apart from the, again, 400 other people who applied to the job. So literally anything we can do to get that upper edge, we want to take the opportunity. Okay. Same deal here. I would make this longer. It's not bad written in paragraph format. It's kind of easy to read. I feel like bullet points still usually tend to come off a bit easier. You could keep this and then add a key accomplishments thing, but you definitely want to quantify more and probably get some more keywords in each of these as well.
Quick question in regards to past work experience. I'm having a major issue. I've been executive assistant. That's what I'm trying to get back into. But the last 3 years, it's been in sales, account, executive, and that seems to be stifling me. Is there a way I should change that that language to make it seem more executive assistant role?
Yeah, this is always a gray area. I'm all for it. It's a tough game because just the way I see this is if you get an interview for the role and you know you'll crush the job and you're going to do a fantastic job if they hire you, it's kind of something everyone needs to check in with if they're like ethical, moral take on it. My perspective is tell whatever story you need to tell to get your foot in the door to convince the person that you are a good enough candidate for the role. So if you're like struggling to book interviews even, I would definitely do whatever you got to do to your resume in that it's not like a complete crazy lie, but it does convey that story, and that's very real. The job market is that competitive that, you know, that hiring manager, they want to take the least risk-averse route possible. Hiring managers, middle management, they're not about like crazy innovation. They're about how do I make a mistake? How do I just avoid making a catastrophic mistake? And the way they do that is they literally just hire the person almost always who has like the last 3 jobs were that thing. They're like, cool, I'm going to interview that person because they've probably been doing that exact thing. So seeing this, you're totally right that that could be one of those tiny little yellow flags that detracts people. So if you can reframe the work you've done at Orchard to feel more executive assistant and you can get away with that, I would do it. Because or else you just may continue to not get interviews. But it's great that you have the experience in the past as well. But it could be helpful to do exactly what you just said. All right. And you got the skills dialed in. That's great. Yeah. So otherwise good. I would just add some more depth there for sure. Cool. Next one. Brittany Solomon, another great little headline. I love this. So Brittany's more on track than we've seen with many in terms of how I'd love this to look. Human resources is great. I would even change resources to whatever the role is, like human resources manager. I would change that to your sub headline. And maybe add, like, these are all great. Onboarding specialist, employee relations engagement specialist. Those are all great. Maybe a few of the other like core skills that anyone hiring in human resources would want, whether that's recruiting. I don't know what the other ones would be, but ChatGPT will be best friend and help you figure those out.
Thanks. I appreciate your comments, but I've actually been cheating. I've been listening to what you've been saying, and I've been editing.
Okay.
So I've been editing before you got to mine.
Cool. Perfect. All good. I love that. I love the productivity. Greetings, a bit about me. I love how personalized this is. I think really same feedback I've given other people of just building it out more data, probably chunking it out because this is a lot blocked into one thing. So maybe like, you know, furthermore, fix this, capitalize that, make it a new line. And then, you know, doing some of those key achievements. The story is great, but until there's data tied to the story, people are going to kind of discount it. So like, is this real? How do I know it's real? And yeah, it's not going to land as much. So definitely try to get the quantification early and often in pretty much all of this content. But I do, and I like how you have top skills. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. So what type of data would you recommend? I guess some insight on what type of data I need to add.
Yeah, so it would be, I mean, hopefully it's in your resume. If not, definitely things that I would encourage you to workshop. But in your roles, so here's the way I like to think about it. If I'm going to pay this person 150K per year, I'm going to hire the person who I feel like is going to give me the biggest ROI on that. And the biggest ROI can come in the form of either they generate, like I would love to see this person generate $1 million for me or save the company $1 million next year. And if they can do that, I'll pay them 150K, I'll pay them more because I'm going to get an awesome ROI on that. So I would reflect back on the work you've done. And even if you have to make your best guess at some of these numbers, but you can root it in real experience and real things you did at those jobs, it might be like reduced annual overhead by $700,000 through an optimization of the onboarding and hiring and training process. Totally just made that up. But HR, think about what are the things I do in HR that either generate money or reduce our expenses, and how do I quantify that? And try to bake that in everywhere. LinkedIn, yeah.
Okay,
It's
could it be
like-
something like maybe like employee retention? Like I can
Yeah.
have like percentages
Yeah.
about employee retention or staffing in a short amount of time or like a certain number.
Yeah, those things are great. I really encourage everyone to try to make the leap between, like, these people are not going to spend a lot of time chewing on this stuff. So I want you to make it easy for the reader to realize that it's actually a really valuable thing. Like they might be like, oh, loosely, yeah, that's valuable that they reduced employee churn. I forget the other thing you just said, but like those things are great. But if you can take it a step further in terms of how it actually impacted the business financially, it will come across as like even more impressive. So those things are good, but I still would challenge everyone to try to connect at least like for each job posting, at least one, if not two bullet points, dollar value related.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah. This is great. I mean, it's a lot to read, but just it's so buzzword heavy that I love it. I think another opportunity here to fix just make sure you hit an extra enter there because it looks like you messed up. But tons of buzzwords, tons of keywords. Again, I would get some more quantification in there because all this stuff sounds great, but cool, you led an event. Did it create money? Did it create impact? Like the words don't mean as much without the numbers. So it's great that you have all that in there, but I would really try to reflect on all these things and figure out where we can get some more numbers.
Okay. Where did you say I needed to add a space?
Pop job,
Did
I
I
believe.
say outreach one, I believe?
Yeah. Event planning.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. But it's good. I mean, you have a lot of depth here. You might, again, kind of like huge text chunk blocks, you might want to chunk this out or something so it's a bit easier to read because that kind of feels a little intimidating to read a really big paragraph like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say just try to go back and get a good amount of numbers in here to be like, oh, she's made a huge impact in these initiatives rather than just like, oh, she's led a lot of initiatives.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks for the insight.
Yeah, of course. I would try to double your skills, just jam pack it with skills.
Okay, more skills.
Yeah, cool. Let's see. Javier. All right, I think it's gonna be our last one, but we'll make sure we keep rocking out with the value. Okay, head of marketing insights at Dropbox. Super cool. Great picture. Solid cover photo. Doesn't need anything crazy. It's good enough that it works. Let's see. This is another I just like the vibe of this. I like the feel of it. It's easy to read. I love this so much. This is a great example of quantification and not just relying on percentages. Again, I would turn 100 million into all the commas and zeros just to make it smack the reader in the face. And they're like, that's a big number. I should pay more attention to that. I would heavily encourage that. Ton of keywords in here, which is fantastic. Yeah, I would like to my earlier point. I think it is all, it's all contextual. I think the fact that Javier I guess in marketing, it's good. I don't know. To me, I know I made the point earlier of it should be more personal, but for whatever reason, I feel like this is solid. I guess point being, you can have different flavors and different ways of doing it. There's not one way it needs to be done. This feels to me very straightforward, but it is very easy to read, and he's done the quantification. So I do think this is good. Maybe an opportunity to add even more keywords. It could even just be like core competencies and then like comma separated list of other just for your marketing, for a marketing insights role. What are the top 20 buzzwords? Drop them at the bottom just so the profile gets a little bump there. And I would say Javier's biggest opportunity again is in the description of his job. And of course, there's stuff that is potentially you're not supposed to disclose those things. We want to work within those bounds, but definitely still more of an opportunity to be more thorough and let the algorithm pick up more and more about his experiences, because I know he's done way more than the algorithm's able to pick up from that right there, and for all of his roles in the past.
My idea there was that it would be a little easier to read, but obviously I was mistaken, right? Like I was thinking, this is a short version. If I give you my resume, you can have a lot more detail, but
yeah,
from a keyword standpoint, that doesn't miss. So
yeah, exactly. It's like if we think order of operations, the algorithm has to like it before the human even knows it exists. So we kind of rather the former rather than the later. And but it can be both too. It can be long and readable, but totally get you. Skills, I would try to double your skills or get at least another 20, 30 solid ones in there. Yeah, great work. All right, I think we can get through one more. Let's do one more. Syed. Okay, Syed. So, open to work. Let's take that off. Let's just do the due diligence of getting a good cover photo. It's just like one of those things that's so easy to do. And if some like recruiters be like, come on, man, you didn't even take the 3 minutes to add a nice picture. All right. So I'd encourage you to do that. When it comes to your headshot, it's not a bad, like it's your face. So, could it be worse? Yeah. But I just like to continue to remind people you're going up against literally 300 to 400 other humans. Just grab like 15 selfies, go pay $30 to some AI tool. That'll make you a really nice headshot that makes you stand out and look unique. All these things matter a little bit. It's not necessarily going to be a make or break thing, but it can definitely still have an impact. And I realized we have a bunch of mutual friends. I went to college with Matt. That's funny. Cool. So about section, same deal. Just make it longer. Key accomplishments. This is another one of those that I just feel like it got written by ChatGPT and it's just trying to convince me that you're, an intelligent person. It feels a little too buzzword heavy to me. So I'd actually probably like reduce the formality of it a little bit, or just add more of your personality into it. I like that you were posting some content. That's great. More quantification, but again, like the length is solid. It's broken up with bullet points. It's readable. I like that. I would just get more quantification and get more keywords. I don't see too many keywords in here. So yeah, encourage that. Same deal, kind of down the road, more quantification. Cool. Skills, increase those quite a bit. One thing, so I'm noticing this, so the catch-all approach rarely works. And what I mean by that is you have 4 different job titles up here. I know the first 2 are pretty similar, but then and project manager, kind of like those other 2 things. But again, when it comes to the hiring manager, looking at 400 profiles, even if you've got pretty thorough, if they're hiring for a senior business systems analyst and they have 2 people to choose from, let alone 400 people to choose from, one person has a resume that is, I've been a senior business analyst, business systems analyst for 10 years. That's all I've done. And then you have another person who's done that for 2 years or even 50% of their resume, but the other 50% is other stuff, let alone like 25% and 75%. They're going to almost always go with the person, like 95% of the time, they're going to go with the person who's through and through a senior business systems analyst because it's the safer option. So, if somehow this approach is working for you, go on ahead. But what we do with all our clients, and it does work time and time and time again, is get clear on the job title you want to go after, pick one job title, optimize everything around that, and the results are way more profound because you come across as the perfect option when you have everything dialed that way. And if it ends up working out or you want to pivot and rework it, but the catch-all approach really almost never works.
You're saying that the business systems analyst title is way too general? Is that what you mean?
No, what I'm saying is you have 4 different job titles. So what I would encourage is to pick one. Maybe you can keep the first 2 because they're pretty general, but I would try to optimize everything around whatever title you really want to go for next and just get more tunnel vision rather than trying to come across as good at all these things.
Okay, let me see.
Because even if you're an expert at all 4, the fact that you're doing all 4, in the first lazy thought the person's going to have is, if they do all 4 of these things, how could he be an expert at any of them if he's doing all of them? So my encouragement would be to just niche down. And what if you want to go after senior business systems analyst, great. But I would just try to make it really clear that that's your bread and butter. That's what you do.
The other question I have is about my experience. If you scroll down, I've put like pretty much every single project I've worked on since I graduated.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
Should I cut it off or anywhere, or should I leave everything?
No, it's great. I mean, this is awesome because it's feeding the algorithm so much extra. So I think this is great. I love it.
Because I've also got, when I used to be a programmer before this, I've got all my programming experience, as you can see there.
Yeah, that's great. It's all
So
feeding
would
the
that be
algorithm.
like, I don't know, would they consider it irrelevant to my business systems analyst profile, or should I leave it there?
Leave it. I think it's great. I mean, they're not going to read all this. There's no way they will, but it's almost just like slapping them in the face with, I've done so much impressive stuff, which is a good thing. So, like, they're going to mostly look at your last 2 to 3 jobs, and they're going to put way more emphasis on that anyways. But yeah, leave all the rest of it there. Totally.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, sweet. So that's a wrap on the LinkedIn stuff. We're going to knock out the rest of this, and then we're going to open the floor for questions. All right. So again, what I mentioned is I want to make sure you guys are for sure doubling, if not 5xing your response rate for interviews. So how do we make that happen? LinkedIn is just one piece of the content ecosystem. So 500 people applying, you need to be in the top of the top, not just on LinkedIn, but your resume, your cover letter, and your portfolio as well. And not even just as standalone things, but the recruiter's going to look at all 4 of those things. So are they all aligned, all telling the same story? So your content ecosystem, your resume, this looks like keyword matching. So just like we're talking about, does your resume have all the right keywords that the job posting has, and that the algorithm scoring you as likely a person who is a good fit for the role? Are you wowing the reader in the first 2 seconds? Just like any marketing email you open is basically the amount of bandwidth they're going to give to your resume at the beginning. If it doesn't wow them, if it's hard to read, if it's unclear, if it's too wordy, all those things are going to affect how much energy they're going to put into reading about you. Format and structure is super important. If you don't have the right formatting and structure, that AI system that's analyzing your resume might not know what to do with it. And especially if any of you guys have these like multi-column resume, there's like colors on your resume or a picture of you, like gotta go. Like super simple, super bland. It should be the most simple formatting ever so that the AI system can interpret it and know what to do with it. LinkedIn, we talked about this as well. One of the benefits of optimizing your LinkedIn is that once you have this SEO stuff optimized, yes, it'll show up at the top of the applicant list, but you'll also be more searchable. So recruiters who are searching to fill roles will reach out to you. We have a client who's a software developer, and he gets like every day he's getting like 4 or 5 people reaching out to him on his reaching out to him for postings because his resume ends up searching for software engineer. When people search for software engineer, they find him quite high on the list, which is really cool. Portfolio is your personal website that shows that you're an expert at the thing that you do. So we make all our clients create a portfolio, even if they're a product manager or marketing, it makes sense. But what's another example of a non-traditional one? Finance, like our finance clients, we make them do a portfolio because it's a unique thing. It's like, huh, that's interesting. They're that passionate about finance that they have a blog, like they teach other people about it. They must be a really great leader, and I want to talk to them. So again, 10 years ago that you didn't need that, but now it's so hyper competitive that these things matter. Cover letter. It's really about how to have a cover letter that is a template that you can use where you don't have to spend much time updating it, but it still sounds custom. And it also doesn't just sound like ChatGPT, which is important for the next thing we're going to talk about, which is how do you get out enough volume of applications to actually get interviews. So application volume. The way I was able to book so many interviews was the insane volume of applications I was getting out with a good resume. So we have every week we have like 60 to 70 conversations with people who are in their job search. We just ask them how many applications are you getting out per month, and it's very rarely more than 200 a week. And a general rule, depending on your strategy, this can vary. But even with a really good resume, you might get one interview for every 100 jobs you apply to because it is so hyper competitive, and they're going to pick the people to interview that are like crazy aligned to the role. So if we just assume for every 100 jobs I apply to, I'll get one interview, those people who are getting out 100 to 200 are going to get maybe 1 to 2 interviews a week. And that's on the high end. Most people are getting out far fewer applications than that per week. So these numbers sound crazy, but what we internally and what I was doing personally was figured out how to get out 2,000 applications per month, which led to 20 interviews a month. And, again, you don't necessarily need to go as crazy as we have, but a way to do that, we hire virtual assistants, which are, people who do assistant admin type work from the Philippines, other countries, train them on how to use AI tools that automate the job search process. So we're paying them, much less than the inevitable 6-figure paycheck that I'm going to get when I land that next job. So really cool way to think like an entrepreneur, not just an employee, and build a system that gets you the results rather than feeling like you have to do everything yourself because you're probably busy, you're probably doing a lot. And even if this is a thing I feel very deeply clear on, even if you have the time, you being the one clicking the apply button is such a poor use of your time because it means you're not working on your portfolio. It means you're not proactively networking. It means you're not upskilling to be a more impressive candidate. You're doing something so low skill and low value. So when you think like the Warren Buffetts and the people who are like crushing it in their field of work, it's because they have systems that work on their behalf to do the low value things, and applying to jobs is a super low value thing. It just needs to get done. So that's my TED talk on that. But point being, figure out how you can get out more and more job volume, even if that's just like, hey, I still have to do it myself, I have to do it manually. Just really figure out how you can pump out more. Yeah, and that's like really the key to getting your next job in the next 1, 2, 3 months versus 6 months of manual applying and not getting out a lot of job volume. Okay, and again, this is not the point of the webinar, but it's been a big, massive impact on my financial life, and it's a big, a lot of our clients are interested in it as well. But we're in this era of AI, of efficiency, of remote work. So the ability to complete a 40-hour work week in 10 to 15 hours or 20 hours, do a great job, and then still have all that extra time, it's very plausible and possible to double, triple your income without working crazy hours. So not saying you need to go do that, but it's something that happens. And especially if you do the things that we've been talking about here and you have a lot of interviews coming in, hopefully you have it in a way that you're not even the one having to do the applying. It's really cool. Like at a point in time, I had 2 corporate jobs and I still had a person applying to jobs on my behalf, and I was just taking interviews. All I had to do was show up and do the interview, and then landed a 3rd job. Like, it was pretty cool. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. So what I want to show you guys now, real quick, drop in the chat if you learned at least 2 to 3 things that you can improve on your resume. I just want to know if you guys got value from this, and we'll go back and answer questions after. So if you have questions, cool. Awesome. That makes me glad to hear. Again, I do not take it lightly that you give me an hour of your time. So I'm really grateful to hear that. Cool. So we're about to wrap up here and leave room for questions. What I want to show you guys is what happens when people implement all this stuff. So this was, I have to stop sharing and reshare because it's not going to share audio. But this was just a non-planned clip from one of our coaching calls of our community and the results people were getting. using our system. So I'm going to share that with you. And like I mentioned, let me put this in the chat too. So I'm going to play this video, and like I mentioned, I'm going to drop a link. So if this call was valuable for you guys and you feel like you learned a lot, you feel like I could probably use a lot of help with my job search, I highly recommend you book a call with our team. So this link here is going to allow you guys to do that. Short call. It's really just to understand where you're at in your career, what your goals are, and if any of the services we have to support in the job search are right for you. And for anyone who ends up being a fit, just because you guys gave us this hour, we applied. So we spend 6 months applying to jobs on your behalf, and we're going to give you an extra 3 months of us applying. So it's an extra 6,000 jobs for anyone who ends up being a fit. So I'm gonna stop talking now. You have that link in the chat. I'm gonna play this video. And yeah, we have a few spots on the calendar, so you guys can grab those if you want to.
Does anyone have any wins they want to celebrate from the week?
I have an interview on Friday for our customer success. So it's like 160K. So see what happens.
I got 2 interviews tomorrow. One's a screening call and the other one's an interview. So that's that. But yeah.
I had the last interview in process for the PMO director role today, and it went well. So hopefully, hopefully I get something out of that. And then I've been told that I'm in the final round of candidates for the other job that's based out of Austin, the chief of staff role.
And Stacy just submitted her JAS stuff, so we're gonna get that turned on, which is a win.
I did. That is my win. That would have been my win that I was going to mention. But yeah, I'm excited about it because I feel like I'm finally there.
And Victoria is moving along in her dream job interviews. Not putting pressure on because we're in the car.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the project. Yeah, I was working on the project today. I sent the designs in the WhatsApp group.
Jamie, anything else to share? Obviously, been having some interviews.
Yeah, no, it's about 2 interviews every week, so it's hitting, and far it's been great. I've had a lot of success. But yeah, about 2 week it seems, so it's better than what was happening. So
these guys, Delaney and Sierra and the team turned mine on, and I was absolutely amazed at how it's like what I had done in maybe 2-3 months, they just almost doubled my output, and I got frantic. I trouble letting go. I'm like, look, but I was having no results. So what am I letting go of, right? It was this whole mindset. And then they just keep coming in, the emails, and she's applied to 200 jobs, I think, maybe more. I don't even know.
Yeah, after you change the resume, night and day difference.
Oh.
Yeah, night and day difference now. 2 interviews, 3 more follow-ups. I mean, people are actually responding now. Before, that other part of the resume just kept getting rejected, just nothing. But now a lot more calls ever since we put the better resume in.
So hope that gives you guys a little bit of hope in terms of the results people can get. Even though a lot of people say the sky is falling, it's possible to get jobs, et cetera, literally all these people came to us having 0 results for 3 to 6 months. And this was a couple months ago, but they all have jobs. We looked at Alan's. He's a COO now. Jamie's got a great product management job. We placed Casey in a operations manager role. So yeah, anyways, hope that was valuable. Again, if you're still on this call and you just gave an hour, I'm having to guess that you guys are not super satisfied with the job search. So again, if you guys want to grab time with us, you can use that link there, learn more about how we can support you in the job search. And I will open the floor to questions if anyone has any questions. You can just unmute yourself if you have a question.
I'm going to ask, some of these jobs, they're pretty tough to pull off 2 and 3 at a time. Like there's areas of the jobs that may not really be automatable. And layer on top of that, at least in my experience, you're required to be basically just full-time with that one job by contract. Like the contract lays that out. Like it calls out up front, you can't be working for someone else at the same time. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, great question. So oftentimes and we have a very thorough dialogue with anyone before we encourage or even allow them to go through that process with us. But knowing that you're a more senior role, absolutely. What we find the sweet spot to be for anyone interested in this, and it comes down to what you value, right? A lot of people are conditioned that the only option is to keep going up. I'm really attached to my title and my seniority. But if people can step back and be like, you know what, I actually am cool with maybe, I don't necessarily care as much about my title. I want more income and more time freedom and flexibility and to be able to use that money to provide for my family. In that case, going for senior manager level roles, I find to be optimal in terms of like stackability, income, and the ability to manage that workload really effectively without crazy amount of work on your plate. Like at least for me in the product world, I've worked 3 different full-time product management jobs all at the same time and several others like throughout my career. The difference between what's on your plate as a manager versus a director to me seems like the biggest discrepancy. So and also job availability volume is a huge driver of how many interviews you're going to get and how many jobs you're going to book. So when you're at that more senior level, there are way fewer roles available, meaning it'll be much more like it's going to be a slower process almost always. So all that to say, and also full possibility that you join a company and it's hardcore, like a smaller startup where you wear a lot of hats is different than going for a big corporation. I personally was employed by big, boring, slow, semi non-innovative companies because I was like, hey, I'm going to do other things on the side that I'm passionate about. I'm going to build this company where I can help other people. And I'm going to do great work at my job, but I'm not like that connected to it. And I'm going to do it as efficiently as I can. So that works for me. If you want to be at a Google or an Amazon, different story probably because they're going to likely require a higher level of commitment to you. But bigger companies, they're usually slower. And as long as you're just on pace with the speed of the company, you're solid. So that was a pretty long-winded answer, but those are some of my thoughts for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it because actually there was a person working in my company and they were working at Facebook full time at the same time with this company, and obviously she got busted and got fired for both at the same
That's
time.
wild. Yeah, it's definitely possible. There's definitely risks associated. I literally never encourage anyone to do it. I'll have a conversation about it because there are pros and cons. We talked to a lot of people who they were loyal to one single company for 10 years, got laid off, and couldn't get a job for like over a year. So there's also a risk associated with having just one source of income. But it's definitely just something to consider. And also, like what I'll say is I was really comfortable with the idea of taking on a second or a third job and realizing it wasn't going to be fit because that role was too hardcore and quitting. Like usually taking a job feels like a big, hard, scary, big deal because jobs don't come along that often. But at least for me, the reframe was like I figured out how to book so many interviews that offers will come. So I could be more in the position of choice, and I could actually create what I want rather than having to just accept whatever came across my plate.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Recording, Kelly, we are going to send out the recording tomorrow, so you'll get access to that.
I have a question, Delaney.
Sure.
Hi. So are you familiar with the word job scan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was informed that every time you apply for a job that you must revise your resume according to the job description, and JobScan helps you find the hard and soft words that are required on the resume to hopefully get the recruiter's attention. Do you recommend purchasing JobScan as a good form of finding the soft and hard skill words that should apply on each resume that you're going to need to find employment?
Not a bad idea to use a tool like that. Yeah, you definitely can. I'm not a proponent of doing it in a way that you need to refine it every time you apply to a job, because when you do that, it's going to take you much longer to apply to each job. And even if you have this like super optimized resume, but you get out 10 a week, you're not going to get any interviews, highly likely. So at least for us, we teach people how to make sure their resume for the job title is so jam-packed with all the keywords that likely if you were to scan it against each job posting, it would score pretty high.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Gustavo, you got a question?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Fantastic.
I'm 53 years old and my resume is 4 pages. And I've been working since I was 19. I'm a post producer. I work for the advertisement and television, and I had a lot of jobs all over the world in a lot of companies. And each time I apply, I feel like my resume is 3 or 4 pages. I work in a lot of places as a freelancer, as I don't know, since I was
What
19.
job title are you going after?
I'm a senior post producer, film editor.
You should have a 1-page resume, and figure out how to tell that story for sure. No one is going to read that, and like realistically, whatever you're going after, they're going to want to just see the last 2 to 3 jobs you had should be able to communicate that you can do the thing well. So more is not better. All that can live on your LinkedIn, but your resume should be 1 page for sure, unless you're going for a C-suite role. Yeah.
If
Because
it's
again,
more than a page, even if it's because my really strong work was 10 years ago.
you can test it. You can A/B test it. I genuinely never try to pretend I know what's going to work, and I'm all for testing. But I would encourage you to, at the very least, make a 1-page resume and send it out 100 times, and see if you for 2 weeks only apply with a 1-page resume and see. Yeah. And honestly, just to be fully honest with you, ageism is super real in this day and age too. So having a crazy long resume kind of points to oh, this dude's been in the game for a long time, and it's not valid necessarily, but they're like, oh, well, he's been doing this for a long time, so I don't even know if he's going to have the best practices. He might have outdated strategies. So a 1-page resume is also a great way to anything over 10 years ago, you really don't want to showcase anyways.
Even if it was Harry Potter or some blockbuster movies?
You can. I mean, if it was over 15 years ago, I would say no. But yeah, I mean, if it's something that impressive, yeah, I mean, I would understand that. But then, I mean, this is a rabbit hole conversation, because then you don't want to have any gaps on your resume either. So yeah, it would definitely require a deep dive to really thoroughly answer your question, but I would do your best to try to make it as concise as possible with my answer.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions?
What's the best way to show a short stint in work? Like you
Where you
just
did
didn't
work?
really. No, where you worked, but you only worked for a really short time.
Interesting.
So I took a role, I didn't like it for 5 months, 3 months, and left the company because the leadership sucked.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to put it on your resume and try to make it seem like as big and impressive of a role as possible. And then, yeah, because you definitely don't want a gap in employment. And there's really nothing you can do about that other than, yeah, create as few yellow flags about it as possible, and then hope you still get invited to an interview where you can talk about it and explain it. But you wouldn't write on your resume, I left because management sucked, or anything like that.
Delaney, I have a question.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. When it comes to, I've had the same job for 18 years, and I've had many, many roles in that job. And right now, my resume and both my LinkedIn has it kind of, started as sales associate and then, worked your way up. But when it came to management, I have the assistant manager and then management, and all the roles kind of linked into one. Should I divide them up as far as time frame, or because when it came to all the different areas, management was all the same as far as what you did. Should I keep them together or separate them?
How long did you say the timeline was?
18 years.
Definitely as many job titles as possible to showcase growth and transformation. The longer you're just in one role, it just kind of conveys stagnation. So yeah, I would try to make it seem like you're constantly growing, constantly doing new things.
Okay, and then Second question, how, like, right now, I've been unemployed for 5 months, and and I'm learning that, you're not supposed to have a gap in your resume. Can you fill up that gap by, because, I've been taking a lot of classes and trying to, learn different things and because I'm actually trying to pivot out of the world I was in before. So can you put that as to fill in the gap that you took schooling and classes and personal development, or do you just leave it?
You can. It's tough. What I usually encourage, if you can, because it's the same thing of how do you convey a story that makes people want to talk to you so you convince them you're going to be a good enough fit to crush the job. If they have 400 people to choose from, they're probably not going to pick the person who's got a big gap in their recent employment. So while it might be a leap, I encourage people to try their best to convey that they've been self-employed doing freelance type work. So you at least come across as you've been doing something. It was more of a proactive decision on your part, because while it's unfortunate, it's just like the more desirable person is the person who's getting attention from others, just like in dating. So if it seems like you proactively left your job to do something freelance, that is going to give away better perception than I've been unemployed and it's been 5 months since I've had a job, which again, no fault to you. It's a challenging market, but what that conveys, it's just going to be like, so if it's been 5 months, why should I hire that person? There's probably something wrong here. So all that to say, I would encourage you to think about, like, is there any way you can tell a story that you've been doing freelance type work? So it's like you're still actually doing something in the real world. If you can't, sure, like education is fine, but doing more education almost also reinforces that you didn't have the skills to do the job in the real world, and you still don't have any real world experience doing it. So it almost like resets your career in a way, if that's helpful.
What about like starting a business? So you're trying to launch because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get back into a field I was in previously, and but I need money. You need money to have a job or to start a job. So
So what I would encourage you to do, what kind of business?
Event planning, wedding planning.
Cool. This is going to sound bad, but I would just like write it as if you've already been doing it and you've actually like made some money doing it. So it sounds legit. Sure, there's probably at least one person who's like, that's immoral to do that, but I'm just being super honest. I've worked with so many people. That will be the difference maker between someone being down to actually talk to you and not. If it feels like you're already doing the thing, but if you're saying, oh, I'm starting this business, it's like they can kind of see right through that in terms of, okay, she's just been unemployed for 5 months. Like they'll be able to tell. So I would genuinely write it as if you're already doing it and you're already doing it decently well.
Oh, okay. What if they asked that, okay, well, since you're already doing this, how is that going to, are they going to look at that as being, oh, this is just your it's like fill in gap or whatever. So they're like, well, we know she's already got other aspects and won't take this job seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I'll answer it for you, but also generalize it for everyone else who might be in a similar position. I would almost always set the context of like, I've been doing this, I'm over it, I want to get back into corporate, is how I've positioned it, whether you're actually going to leave the other thing or not. You don't want to put any doubt in their mind that you're not going to be fully dedicated and provide full value. For you, you could be like, yeah, I committed to doing this full time. It's actually like way more stressful than I thought it would be. And I actually just want to get back into corporate. You could say that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any more questions? Charity's got her hand up.
No, that was me. That was who you were just talking to.
Oh, perfect. Sorry. Couldn't see it.
And maybe just one last quick question to round everything up. Pretty simple, I'm sure to answer. Kind of talking about the ages and things like that. I read recently that you should actually remove your high school graduation year and your college any level. Is that advised by you?
Depends on when it was. When did you graduate high school / college?
So high school 06, college 2012, and then went and got an MBA, graduated in 2020 with my master's.
Got it. I don't think those are so long ago that it's a big deal. I would say it's so sad that we even have to talk about it like this, but I would say anyone over like I feel like even 40, 45 is not really like big deal. I think people like getting close to their 50s / into their 50s, that's when it's more of like the ageism becomes more of a real thing. So I don't think you need to worry about it unless you're in that category. But if you are nearing 50 / over 50, I would remove as much like of that as you can. Catherine, we're with you. We're gonna make sure you crush it. Yeah, it's tough. It's unfortunate. We work with a lot of people who are either like in their 50s, in their 60s, or are on visas, and it's tough out there. But all you can do is just have a really good job search strategy, and do what you can, and it works out eventually. So sounds good, guys. Cool. Still 30 of you guys on here. I saw a bunch of you guys book calls. That's awesome. I did redrop the link. If anyone else wants to grab time, like I mentioned, we're doing a pretty cool promo. So anyone who does book with us will get an extra 3 months of us applying for free. So that's an extra 6,000 jobs we'll apply to for you, which is pretty cool. I'll drop that one more time. If you guys are like, maybe you might as well just grab the URL so you can use it in case you want to. Other than that, I do not have anything else for you guys. So if there's any more questions, we can stay on. But cool. Love to hear that, Shannon. Looking forward to chatting with you.
One question.
Yeah.
When she was talking about owning a business during your downtime, how do you, when you apply for another W-2 job, are you including that as your last, or are you going back to your W-2 job?
I would say only put that on your resume if you have gaps in your employment. I don't know if I'm not fully understanding your question, but maybe you can articulate it a different way.
It's not a W-2 job.
Okay. In my instance, I'm wondering, between my W-2 jobs, I'm applying for another W-2 job. I've been doing my 1099 for the last 3 months. Am I including that in an application, or am I just not mentioning it, but we'll talk about the gap when I land an interview?
You can talk about it if it's on. The whole point is if you're going to add it, you should be talking about it, you should be including it, or else you should leave it off. Yeah, it's only meant to be there if it's going to add value to the story you're trying to tell.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Well, glad you guys enjoyed this. Yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you guys again, and we'll send out the recording for anyone who wants to go back and watch it again. Thanks, guys.